All right, something else that I wanted to talk about, and speaking of like transition and where do you go from here with your character and stuff, this is something you and I were texting privately over the last couple of days. So, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Takeover was it Vengeance Day, right? That's this Sunday on the WWE Network. And after last week's episode of NXT, I know it's the second to last episode. This coming Wednesday is going to be the go home show. So, last bit of storytelling that they want to get into before the pay-per-view this weekend. But I was looking at the card. I was like, okay, let me double check all the matches. And it's usually 5 matches. And I was looking. I was like, all right, you got the Dusty Cup finals for the men and women. That's 2 matches there. You got Finn Balor, Pete Dunne, NXT Championship. Well, we did hear Kushida versus Johnny for the North American Championship. But as we mentioned earlier, we don't know if that's going to happen now. If it's a work shoot or not. And then, oh my God, what was the other one? Women's title, the triple threat. So I was looking, I was like, there's no one from Undisputed Era. I'm just so used of seeing members of the Undisputed Era, whether Adam Cole or the other 3 guys, having some sort of match at TakeOver. Like I really got used in the last couple of years. TakeOver is Undisputed Era's time to shine. And I was like, wow, I don't know when's the last time pardon me, I didn't do any research like when was the last time, but it feels like it's been a minute since a takeover happened without any members of Undisputed Era on the show, especially Adam Cole with his long title reign. Takeovers was his time to deliver these top matches. So I was just a little shocked by this. And so I was kind of thinking, I was like, I kind of want to talk about this, but how we kind of, phrase this or discuss this topics. I mean, we'll just start just right out of the gates for you. Just, are you a little bummed that you're not going to see anyone from Undisputed Era this Sunday as of right now at the time of this recording? Or actually, do you think this is a good time? Like some more other talent are going to to have time to be on TV. And this also represents maybe Undisputed Era. Did they run out of just storylines for them to tell that lead into a pay-per-view?
For the Undisputed Era, I think there's more stories we told in NXT, especially now that because they're still freshly new as a babyface group, right?
Okay.
I think it's okay for one show not to feature any of them because it can just help the build up for the next show. There's still that Kyle O'Reilly, going for the championship story. Like it's still out there. Like that's still to me the rubber match is a big match whenever that happens. If that's going to happen will that happen at the TakeOver, WrestleMania or WrestleMania TakeOver? I always call it WrestleMania yeah. On that time frame, or how's carrying CrossFit and all that stuff. So yeah. When it comes to, there's nothing really for them other than if there was a tag team title match with Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. But you had the Dusty Classic, and that's kind of like the focus right now. So you want to add a third tag team match on there. If they had one more guy for the brand, I guess, or Pat McAfee, if he ever showed up, that would have been a fun 6-man tag if they would have had it on this takeover. But I think it's okay to leave them off. Focus on some other talents for now, because the Undisputed Era, they're pretty much over already. There's you can leave them off, and then freshen up your TVs with them after this post takeover. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's like, I'm sure for them, like, finally, we have a weekend off, a takeover weekend off. So for them, just
actually the opposite. They probably want to be on it because those guys. I think most guys, they want to be on the big show. They don't want to be left off. But I think they're an okay. It's not one of those things like, throughout the show we forgot about you. Don't worry, they're not going to forget about those 4 guys. They're all extremely talented, and Adam Cole's still there's so much great story to tell in 2021 with those guys.
Well, so it's interesting you brought that up because as far as, okay, after this takeover, just get through it, and then maybe they can start with some fresh new stories to lead up to the next takeover, whenever that will be. We know, just on a complete side note, it just came to me. So the rumor was it last week, that WWE wants Finn Balor to defend. Well, they say Finn Balor, but I should rephrase that. They want the NXT Championship defended because we don't know if he wins it this week or retains this weekend or not. But they want the NXT Championship defended at one of the nights for WrestleMania this year. It's a night one. It's 2 nights. And so there's no takeover theoretically on that Saturday that we're used to in the past. Last year, Rhea Ripley defended the NXT Women's Championship against Charlotte Flair. So there was some NXT presence on last year's 2-night WrestleMania. So I think it's kind of cool. Okay, bring the NXT Championship, the male one, over for WrestleMania this weekend. I was trying to, I think the other day we were talking about this. I was like, okay, who could it be? Could it be Finn Balor? Could he defend it against maybe Walter, like NXT champion versus NXT UK champion? That we get Walter over here in America once again. It's been a minute. I don't know what travel restrictions are at that point, but
well, they teased it a couple weeks ago with the Imperium coming together again, though. So
yeah, it's an Imperium.
Maybe they'll figure it out and make an appearance or two. Yeah, who knows? There's some stuff brewing at least on NXT.
Yeah, I'm all for that, and that's the thing also. So yeah, I'll be all for if they get maybe Undisputed Era can be involved somehow in WrestleMania weekend. So maybe I'm just like thinking ahead to WrestleMania weekend. Okay, if they want NXT Championship present there, what are some other ways they can get some other NXT talent on that WrestleMania show? So that'd be cool. Maybe Finn, Walter, Undisputed Era, who knows? But that's something to keep an eye on over the next couple months. But yeah, for this time though, for Undisputed Era, like I'm thinking, like I said, my initial reaction was like, man, did they run out of creative for them? But you brought up good points. Like, okay, maybe take a break. There is a lot of story they could tell as baby faces. I mean, I know there were reports coming out that maybe they were going to break them up and like half the team turns heel on the other half. And it kind of looked like Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish were going to turn on Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. We haven't really seen that. I mean, if those reports are true, I'm sure that was probably thrown in creative at some point. But if they do that, I'm sure they want to hold off until there's a crowd reaction, because that's a big moment. Undisputed Era, as we talked about in the past, that's been their big faction for the last 3 years. So I think they want to save that for a big moment in front of a crowd. But at the same time, I don't want them to break up, because I want them, if they do eventually go up to Raw or SmackDown, I want them to go up as a team. So I don't want them to break up on NXT and then we won't get Undisputed Era on the main roster, on the main shows, because I want the bigger audience to see them as a foursome. So that's why I don't think them breaking up is going to happen anytime soon. And I think, as you mentioned, there's a lot of stuff they can do in the meantime in NXT as baby faces. So I guess that's the big issue, is like, okay, what can we do to kind of keep them creatively on TV, present on our mind, but maybe if they're on the outside of the title scene right now, because it looks like they're trying to get other people. They've dominated. Today at work, I wore my Undisputed Era all the gold shirt. Like, they had the prophecy that they fulfill of all them having titles, all the titles under their faction. So I don't know. I'm just trying to think, what can we do creatively, or what can they do, I should say, to keep them fresh as baby faces, but outside the title scene.
Well, if they had a group that they can also work against, I know they have the brand, Pat McAfee, I believe, is coming back sooner than later. I don't think that guy could be off. I understand them not wanting to have him out there every week, because he'll get stale if you take him in there, every so often. It'll mean something. The way Johnny Gargano, Austin Theory, they would have to have probably they could add it. They can feud with them, but that's only 2 versus 4. So
yeah,
and there's also, if Kyle wins the title, what happens if Adam Cole gets in position to challenge for the title? So Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly is a big match.
Okay.
That's a big match. The tag titles, Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish are kind of the guys. They're kind of like the B squad, and Kyle O'Reilly and Cole the A squad of the team. Mm-hmm. Not trying to disrespect them or anything, but
yeah, the hierarchy.
So how they can always do stuff. They keep busy, but you need to make focus is going to be Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly for sure. And mainly right now, the story is Kyle. I would think that's the main story you want to tell him. Eventually win the title, but it might not be WrestleMania weekend. It might be later this year with that, because Finn has to. I think I would like to see him with longer road title.
Yeah,
I kind of like the idea of him and Karrion Kross. If Karrion beats Finn for the title, but then the Demon comes back and beats, Karrion for the title or something like that. I mean, I don't know. There's so much ways you can go with this, but who knows if they get a call and say, "Hey, we want Karrion Kross, or we want Adam Cole," or who knows if that happens. I don't think so. I think because they're still on the USA Network, they still need some star presence. They can't just have everyone go up.
And you brought up a good point right there. As far as I feel like we're so used to NXT, like I feel like the mindset is don't get too attached to them because they're going to get called up to Raw or SmackDown, and whatever that was magical about them in NXT is going to be gone. And so, but Undisputed Era is that one group where I've been buying it all up. I got a bunch of their t-shirts over the last couple of years. I really like what they've been doing. And I've really been surprised how long they've lasted in NXT, but it kind of makes sense though, because I like for NXT, they need to maintain a strong roster with some star power, because if they're going to be on cable television and they're going to be competing against AEW or just existing as a show on USA Network, I feel like WWE as a whole maybe should not be pulling so many guys continuously from NXT throughout the year. It's like, no, you got to let them kind of just stay down there for extended period of time and let that show really blossom as a third brand and really separate from more of the developmental aspect of it. And so that's something for me, I'm really been happy that Undisputed Era has been able to stay down there that long and just really keep the NXT brand strong. Like, no offense to a lot of the other people, but I mean, they've had that strong star power, and that's why I tune in for the most part for NXT outside the other great talent. But I really like tuning in to NXT and see them when they wrestle. And so that's one thing I do get frustrated is like there's some guys that they get called up and I was like, oh, I wish they would have stayed in NXT a little bit longer, because how's NXT as a show going to be successful when you're constantly pulling from that roster? So
I felt that way when Keith Lee got called up.
Yeah.
Because I thought like there's something here with him as this babyface champion going forward, and he was soon called up to the main roster after it wasn't a long run with the championship. So now I get it. I understand his frustration, but I also think I don't think they've called too many people up. They called some the people that did the Retribution, not big losses for the NXT roster. Losing a Donovan Dijakovic or a Mia Yim is not really gonna affect the NXT show as much. But yeah, if you lose the Undisputed Era to go to the main, that's a big hole to fill, and you better be ready to fill that hole or have someone already ready to fill that hole.
Well, and that's the thing. I was thinking, okay, if Undisputed Era does go to Raw or SmackDown, how do you fill that void? And we talked about this a couple months ago or within the last month. Legado del Fantasma, could they be the next big faction to kind of wave the flag of like this dominant force of a multi group? They're doing their thing on the NXT Cruiserweight still, and they're having a presence in the Dusty Cup as well, the Dusty Classic. But you look at Imperium. Imperium has now kind of looked like they're switching over from NXT UK to NXT Prime. They've been teasing maybe Walter is coming in some capacity, which I'm like, okay, maybe we'll have Legado and Imperium kind of like these two factions, like on the outside looking in. Once maybe Undisputed Era leaves, they can like fight it out as the top faction there. I'm like, okay, I can get behind that. I really dig Imperium. I mean, I loved their Worlds Collide match last year. So I'm like, it's different, but it's a 4-man group, but it's a different presentation with the jumpsuits and more of the UK style and the look and all that stuff. So I'm all for that. So maybe that's it. Maybe even in the Undisputed Era, maybe they reignite that rivalry between the two of them, that feud between Undisputed Era and Imperium as well. Undisputed as the true baby face, Imperium as the heels. So you brought up a good point. I think the baby face aspect, there is some fresh news stories they could tell. So that's one thing I'll be looking forward to for that.
I like that idea of Undisputed Era revisiting the feud with Imperium, because it'd be kind of cool to see Undisputed Era regain, like you called what they called it, the prophecy, right?
Yeah.
You win all the gold if Kyle was the champion now, and then you had Adam Cole won the Ultimate American. You had Bobby Fish and Project Strong, the tag team champions.
That would be glorious.
And then here comes Imperium, who were like, no, we're the superior group, and then we can start that up, and maybe that's a good thing for the summer and fall,
Yeah.
Because wow, that'd be. I mean, I dug the Worlds Collide
That was one.
I love that pay-per-view. It was a great pay-per-view.
Yeah, that was one of my matches of the year. That Worlds Collide match, the 4-on-4. Even though Wolf got hurt early on, but the fact that they had to kind of recall it on the fly shows how talented everyone was in that match. So I'm all for that. So yeah, anyway, it's just like a little food for thought. As like, you know, I noticed that when Takeover coming this week, I was like, wow, no Undisputed Era. I was like, wow, did they just run out of ideas? But yeah, once this is done, yeah, it's really interesting. You got Finn as champion, Pete going after him. Kyle could possibly try to come back after that as well. Maybe it was a third time. Karrion Kross is there lurking in the background as well. So there's a lot of moving parts here, which is fascinating for NXT, for me at least, as far as tuning in for that. I mean, I was kind of hoping, obviously before Karrion got hurt, I was hoping him as champion, it was going to be the Demon Finn, because we haven't seen him in a long time. That's what comes back to dethrone Karrion Kross, who's been on this monster tear. But it didn't happen. He got hurt. Finn, just regular Finn, won the Fatal 4-Way last year and ultimately won the match at TakeOver to become NXT champion. So, but I'm glad you brought that up, because that was like an idea I had last year. It was like, okay, maybe Karrion can win it this year, and then Finn can return as the Demon to dethrone him once again, and then Karrion moves on to Raw or SmackDown or whatever. So there's a lot of moving parts, but yeah, maybe for Adam Cole, he could like step down a little bit and let Kyle really do his thing. So that's still a fresh dynamic that we just seen over the last month or two. I really kind of curious to see them explore that a little bit more. It's like everyone's been supportive of Adam doing his thing, but now Adam has to take a step back and really push his buddy as the kind of, not to say maybe the leader of Undisputed Era, but the kind of the number one guy right now. So
that's right. Which I really like about Undisputed Era on this babyface run is like Adam Cole, who is, you know, the leader, is so supportive of Kyle O'Reilly's quest for the title. Like there's no ego there. But what if he gets the position again to where he does get a title shot against Kyle? What happens there, right? You know what? Yeah, I don't know. You can do so much. It's
okay.
Stuff, you know, coming up. You know, if they go that route, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I can see it though. I can see that at least the Kyle O'Reilly story is something that needs to be completed. I think him winning the title needs to happen. I think
so. You're for that, because I mean, I'm curious if some people think he's just the number 2 guy. Like, does he deserve being champion of NXT? But so you're for that type of that decision.
Oh yeah, I think Kyle's ready to break out. I think he's proved it in the last 2 matches with Finn, and you know, he has a chance to be. He should get a chance to be the guy. I think it'd be a great thing, and it opens up a lot of storyline possibilities within the Undisputed Era as his champion, and you know, maybe not even Cole. Maybe it's Roddy Strong that gets a little jealous. Maybe Bobby Fish gets jealous of being the last. Feels like he's the last guy on the totem pole of the group, right? You know, so you know, he could do so many cool things.
And keep in mind, remember, Bobby Fish was injured the last couple months, and last week, and was it last week or the week before? The 3 of them were standing there, and Finn backed up, and then was kind of all 4 of them lined up together, and then Finn backed down, and rolled out of the ring. So I wonder if that's something to explore as well. Finn and maybe his relationship. He's like the 5th Beatle, the 5th member of Undisputed Era.
Well, what I like about that is that with that symbolism is like, it was so awesome. It was like, okay, I'm with Kyle because I have some respect for him for our battles. But he looked at Adam Cole and he's like, I'm out. I'm not going to get attacked from behind by you guys. I don't trust you, son of a gun, right? So I kind of like how he doesn't really trust Adam Cole and the rest, but he has a mutual respect, at least with Kyle. And,
yeah.
You know, God, that's what I like about NXT. They have a lot more open stories that you can tell than AEW right now. For me, just seems kind of just standing still with like there's a lot of guys that can kind of fill that role as like challengers coming up. Like NXT has a lot more options. Like, you know, like shoot, we get to pull out Joey Janela versus Darby Allin this week just to for the title of all the guys. You know, you got some problems with your roster, in my opinion.
How does Joey Janela keep getting these title shots? And it's amazing.
He did his last singles win was against Marco Stunt in November of 2020. So there you go. That's why. Even sports based. It's sports based.
I love it. So, oh man, it's all right. I'm okay. I'm glad I talked to you about this. You engaged my mindset. It's like, okay, don't worry about Undisputed having the weekend off. There's still a lot of more stories that they can tell as baby faces. So I'm all for that. I think, yeah, Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly at some point, that could be interesting. Finn and their relationship with him. Maybe something with WrestleMania, them versus Imperium. So, okay, good. Right there alone, that could take you through through the summer if they book it correctly.
We can do it. I hope it's good, man. Just because they always have pretty good storyline. Even though I was not happy with their last show, other than the great main event, the rest of it I was really upset. Which is like I felt like I was reading an Elseworlds comic of like what's going on here. Just I never seen NXT not really booked well.
I'm with you about the women's match. Just the build up has been kind of flat. Just Io just sitting there. Like it looked badass, like she was sitting there the way she was posing, but it's like she's not doing anything though at the same time. So yeah, I'm with you.
This like I said, this takeover, the build hasn't been strong. But I think once it happens, they'll kill it because that's what they do.
Absolutely.